Priya, and for today's video I'm going to be doing this look for you guys, which you can wear to the New Year's or the Christmas parties. And this look is so versatile that it can be transformed with 3 different lip colors, which I'm going to show you in a short while. So for the eyes, I have done a neutral gold glowy eye look with a slightly winged eyeliner. For the lips, this is my favorite look of the 3. This is the pink lip. And I've done beautiful highlighting and contouring so that when the party lights shine on you, I'll make sure that you shine. Okay, so getting into the makeup, first let's get these hair out of the way. Okay, so I'm starting off by using a moisturizer. The moisturizer I'm using is the Oil Free Moisture by Neutrogena. So I'm just going to take a pump and use it all over my face. I think that it's really important to use moisturizer because you don't want dry patches under your skin. It looks really shabby. So I'm going to use it all over my face and the neck. Use whatever moisturizer suits your skin type. Since my skin type is oily, I'm using this oil-free one. Since it's winters now, but my skin still stays oily, I'm using this one, but you can use whatever you like. Okay, so now that the moisturizer is absorbed into the skin, so we have no dry patches going on in there. Now I'm going to start with the makeup. So first thing that I use is a primer. Now why I use a primer is because it fills in all the pores and imperfections, any fine lines that you might have. So you get the perfect canvas to work on. Your makeup stays a lot longer. You can skip this step of course, but if you need the makeup to last a lot longer someday, do use a primer. So the primer that I'm using is from L'Oreal. It's the base Magique. Okay, so I'm going to dot it all over my face and neck. All set, now we're going to blend it in. Now why I'm using it on the neck is because I want the foundation to be on the neck as well, so that it doesn't look like I have a mask on my face. I want my neck and my face to be equal, so I'm using the primer on my neck as well. For the base, I'm going to start with concealer and then foundation. I like to do it in this order. You can do it in whichever order you like, but since I like this better, so let's get started with the concealer. The concealer I'm using here is the Revlon Colorstay. My shade is 03 Light Medium. So now since I want to conceal all my imperfections, I'll conceal my dark circles, any blemishes that I might have. The lighting may make it look that I have no imperfections, but believe me, I do have some pimples and all that going on. So what I like to do with the concealer is that under the eyes, I use it in an inverted triangle position, like so. Now why I do that is because sometimes you see those streaks under the eyes, the concealer looking stark under the eyes. In this way, it doesn't look like that. It looks all blended and merged into the skin. It looks very natural. So I'm going to also use the concealer on any blemishes that I might have. Okay, I look scary now, but believe me, this is going to be all blended in. So to blend, I'm going to be using the Real Techniques makeup sponge. I find this perfect for blending the concealer because it makes it look really natural. And then the smallest spots, I'm going to do it with my fingers because I find it better. So now with the blemishes concealed, I'm going to move on to foundation. The foundation that I'm using here is the Dream Satin Skin by Maybelline. And my shade is P03. So I'm going to just pump it on the back of my hand. And with the same beauty sponge, I'm going to use the foundation all over my face and neck. what you should take care of is to blend your foundation into the hairline so that it doesn't have a different color over here and over here. Okay, so just blend it in the hairline just like that. So I'm going to do the neck now. So now I'm moving on to contouring and highlighting. For contouring, first I'm going to be using a concealer. This is the Focus and Fix Liquid Concealer. And this is a really dark shade, and I use a dark shade to contour because it looks really natural. Since a concealer is used for the skin, so it looks really natural more than a bronzer. So I'm going to use it first to contour my cheekbones, and then I'm going to use it to make my jawline look sharper. So I'm going to start with the cheekbones. So I'm going to make a duck face now, and then I'm going to use it. So since this is a very lightweight concealer, I'm going to top it off with a matte bronzer. So now we're going to blend the concealer in as my contour. So the trick to contouring is that you suck your cheekbones in like so, and then you use the concealer or the bronzer, whatever you're using for contouring, just a dark color, maybe 2 shades darker than your skin tone. You use that on the hollowest parts of your cheekbones. So like so, okay? So let's blend it in. Okay, so since this is all nicely blended in, another thing that I want to tell you guys is that whenever you're blending your contour color, make sure to go up to the hairline because that's how the natural shadows of our face are. So since we want it to be natural, we want it to go upwards towards the hairline like the natural shadows. So now moving on to highlighting now. The palette that I'm going to be using for highlighting is the Protection palette by Makeup Revolution. And this palette has a bronzer, a blush and a highlighter. So I'm going to be using 3 of them. Starting with the contour, I'm just going to slightly add to the contour so that it sets. Since a cream concealer needs to be set, and I'm going to also use a little bit on the sides of my forehead. So what I've done is that I've created a number 3 on my face. As you can see, going from here, a number 3 in the same way over here. That's the trick to a contour. So now moving on to the highlighting and blush. I'm using the same palette that I showed you. I'm going to use this as the blush and this as the highlight color. So first I'm going to use the blush. It's a very nice light pink color. So I'm going to smile and use it on my cheekbones. So now I'm moving on to highlight. I'm using the same highlighter as I told you, and I'm going to use it on the high points of my face. Before that, I'm going to be using a cream highlighter, and then I'm going to set it with a powder highlighter so that the makeup lasts a lot longer. So the cream highlighter that I'm going to be using is the Revlon Skinlights. I'm just going to put a little bit on the back of my hand. You really need the tiniest amount in this product. I love this product. You must try it. So I'm just going to take the tiniest amount and I'm going to use it on the high points of my face. That is the bridge of my nose. I'm going to use it under the brow. And I'm going to also use it on the cupid's bow and the highest points of my cheekbones. So now I'm going to be blending it, and make sure that you pat and not rub, because you don't want your contour and highlight to mix, so pat it in. I'm making a C with the highlighter, which makes your cheekbones look very prominent and gorgeous. And putting it on the bridge of the nose makes your nose look lifted and very sharp. And also putting it on the cupid's bow makes your lips look fuller. So now that we're done with contouring, I'm going to set my makeup, and I'm going to use the powder highlighter to set my cream highlighter. The two brushes that I'm going to be using is, the first brush is the Real Techniques contour brush, and the second brush is the Real Techniques buffing brush. So I'm going to start with setting my highlight. So I'm going to use the highlighter. Now I'm going to make sure that my blending is done so that the contour doesn't have any harsh lines. So I'm just using the buffing brush, it's all empty. I'm just using it to blend the contour again. Now I'm going to be setting my whole face of makeup with a setting powder. The powder that I'm using is the face powder from the same palette that I just showed you guys. So I'm just going to use the buffing brush. I'm just going to take a little bit of product. First I'm going to be dusting it off so that I tap off the excess. And I'm going to be using it just under the eyes, very lightly, on the chin and my T-zone. All set. So I'm starting with the eye primer. The eye primer that I'm using is from La Splash. It's the waterproof. It's the splash proof sealer. So I'm going to use it on the lids and the brow bone and the inner eyelids as well. So now I'm going to blend it in with my fingers. What this does is it makes the color last a lot longer and makes the color show up really beautifully on the eyes. So the first color that I'm going to be using on the lids is a matte cream color. I'm going to be using the Maybelline The Nudes palette, the third shade. So I'm just going to be using a regular sponge applicator to do this. So this is how the lids look like. I've done this to neutralize all the colors and so that whatever color I'm using on the lid shows up a lot better. So now I'm going to be defining the crease with another color, which is a matte taupe color from the same palette. It's the fifth shade. So I'm just going to be loading it on a blending brush. I'm going to look here and I'm going to look down and I'm going to define the crease, and then I'm going to look up to blend. So now that I've defined my crease, you can look. I'm going to move on to a shimmery shade that I'm going to be using on the lid. So now I'm going to be using the shimmery gold color from the Makeup Revolution palette. This is the Redemption palette. I'm using the gold color here. So I'm using it on the sheer cover brush. Now this is a concealer brush, but I like to use it for shadows because it gives a great color pickup and the eyeshadows are definitely greatly packed onto the lid. So I'm going to pack this onto my lid just over the matte cream shadow. So now that I've applied the shadow on the lid, I'm going to go ahead and use the same color that I used on the crease to darken it again. Now I'm going to go on and highlight my brow bone and the inner corners of my eyes with a shimmering highlight color. The color that I'm going to be using is from the same Makeup Revolution palette. It's the first shade and it's a shimmering highlight color. So now I'm going to be using the Real Techniques Definer brush. And I'm going to be highlighting under the brow bone here and in the inner corners right here. So done with that, I'm going to go ahead and finally I'm just going to go with the same gold color to make sure that the color payoff stays really well and to make sure that it hasn't faded. So I'm going to go with the same gold that I used on the lid. I'm just going to touch up. So I'm using my fingers for this. I'm just going to take the gold like so. I'm going to touch it up on the lid. So now I'm going to finish the look by using a pop of color. Now this is so interesting, this is my favorite part. I'm just going to be using the Makeup Revolution palette. So I'm going to be using the blue shade. It's like a purple shimmering blue shade. And I'm going to be using it with a flat definer brush. And I'm going to be using it right from the inner corner to the outer corner, just closely under the lower lash line. So to finish off the eyes now, I'm going to be using liner. The liner that I'm using is from Maybelline New York. It's the Eye Studio Gel Liner. And I'm going to be using this with the Vega eyeliner brush. So what I've done is I've done a really thin line and now I'm going to wing it out really slightly. Now that we're done with eyeliner, I'm going to move on to mascara. But before I do that, I'm going to curl my lashes. Now I'm going to move on to mascara. The mascara that I'm using is the Maybelline Colossal Volume Express Mascara. I'm just going to wriggle the brush so that I get an even separated lash look. finish off the look, I'm going to be doing the lips now. So for the lips, I'm going to be first prepping my lips. So I'm just going to be using a toothbrush, just a regular toothbrush, and a little bit of serum. I'm using this Power serum. You can use anything you want. You can use Vaseline as well. I'm just going to put a little bit of the serum on the toothbrush. I'm going to exfoliate my lips. Now that the dead skin is off my lips, I can finally move on to lip shades. So I'm going to be doing 3 different colors of lip shades. Since the eyes are very chic and neutral, but with a pop of color, you can be free to use either a nude color or a pink or a red as per your choice. Everything looks really good on this look. So let me start with the nude lip color first. So the lipstick I'm using is from Lotus Herbals in the shade Coral. It's a nude coral color. So I'm going to show the shade to you guys. Now since New Year's demands a little bit of gloss and glitz, I'm going to top this off with a little bit of lip gloss. So I'm using the Yardley High Shimmer Lip Gloss. And I'm just going to be using it on the center of my lips to make them look poutier and pretty. So this is the first color, the eyes with a nude lip. So remove the lip color now and it's time for the second lip color. You can choose whichever you like. I like this one the best. It's a beautiful pink color. It's from Lakme Enriched Satin. I'll show you the color. So my lips are already hydrated and plumped with the lip balm. I'm going to use the lipstick now. So now the last shade is a bold statement red lip. I am very scared to use a red lip sometimes, but sometimes I am in the mood for the statement. So if you want to make a statement, go for the bold red lip. The color that I am using is from the Streetwear Color Rich Ultra Moist range. And it is in the shade number 1, Fire Your Ex. So this New Year's, fire your ex. So here's the finished look, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and if you did, don't forget to like the video. Do tell me in the comments below which is your favorite look. Mine is the pink one for sure. So do tell me which one you like, and for any suggestions or any video requests that you have, comment below. And all the products that I use, I will link in the description box below. Till the next video, stay tuned and subscribe to my channel if you haven't, so that you can see all my upcoming videos. Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas, and stay glamorous. Bye!